Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be sharing my most anticipated 2021 releases for the rest of the year. I recently did a video where I recapped my 2020 releases and talked about whether I read them or not, and this was the first year that I split things into quarters, except that I totally forgot to film one for summer, so I'm sorry about that, and I'm going to shout out some books at the beginning of the video that I'm excited about that did come out in the summer or are coming out like very shortly in the summer. Next year is going to be a project to recap because I'm going to have so many books to go through. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about a couple of books that either just came out in August or are coming out shortly in August. I'm not going to go over July releases because they're already out. So I'm just going to throw these out there and then I'll get into the releases I'm looking forward to for the rest of the year. So first is Eva Evergreen and The Cursed Witch. This one comes out on August 3rd and this is the second book in the Eva Evergreen series. I read the first one earlier this year. I absolutely loved it and I cannot wait to read book 2. Also coming out on August 3rd is Dark Waters by Katherine Arden. This is the third book in, I think it's called the Small Spaces series. These are like spooky middle grade books. They kind of remind me of Goosebumps, except they're really good from when I was younger. And each book focuses on a different season. So we're now up to the book that's going to take place in the summer. Is it summer? No, it's spring. It looks like a summer book. No, you know what? I think we're up to the book about spring, though it's called Dark Waters, which made me think that it would be summer, but I can't imagine that she would start going out of order. So we're going to say that it's the spring book. Also looking forward to The Heart Principle by Helen Hoang. This one comes out on August 31st and it's the third book in the Kiss Quotient series. I loved books 1 and 2. It's such a cute romance and we're finally getting Kwan's romance story and he is one of my favorite characters. So I have a feeling that I'm going to just love this one. And then lastly, coming out on August 31st is The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith. This I obviously have an advanced copy of. I'm so excited to read it. It sounds like it's going to be really good. It takes place at a magical school in New York City in the 1700s. And yeah, it's got a whole lot of things going for it. So now I'm going to cover releases for the rest of the year from September through November. I didn't see any releases in December that I was really looking forward to. December is usually a very slow month for new releases. There are 1 or 2, if any. So it's possible that something could come up before then, but I do think that things in publishing are still a little bit delayed and everybody's kind of playing catch up. So these are things that I'm looking forward to now. And I feel like 2022 is going to be just chock full of new releases, assuming things improve. Okay, so the first book on my list is The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This one comes out on September 7th, and this is the second book in the Inheritance Games. I think it's a duology. I only see 2 books listed on Goodreads, and I feel like Jennifer Lynn Barnes tends to write duologies versus trilogies, so I'm going with duology. I am planning on reading the first book in August, but it has kind of Cinderella meets Westingame vibes, and we are following a character who gets this huge inheritance from a billionaire. She has to move into this house with the rest of his family. She doesn't know why his fortune was left to her or anything, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of twists and turns. I always love Jennifer Lynn Barnes's books. Then also on September 7th, I'm looking forward to Witch Please by Anne Aguirre. I hope I'm saying that correctly. This is the first book in a new series called The Fix-It Witches. It's described as practical magic meets Gilmore Girls, which obviously got my attention. It follows a character named Danica who works at a magical tech repair shop and a baker named Titus who's a 30-year-old bisexual and he is also a virgin because of some kind of romantic curse, and it's the romance between those 2 characters. Then on September 14th, I'm looking forward to A Lot Like Adios by Alexis Daria. I read You Had Me at Ola last year and I really enjoyed it, and I'm very much looking forward to her next release. This one is a second chance romance about a commitment phobic Latina and her childhood best friend. Sounds like it'll be pretty cute. Then this one is definitely in the top 3 of my most anticipated for this half of the year, and that is The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. And Erin Sterling is actually a pen name for Rachel Hawkins. I've liked a lot of Rachel Hawkins's other books, so I'm really excited to read her first romance adult novel. This one comes out on September 28th, and we're following a character named Vivian who puts a hex on her ex-boyfriend. She's like heartbroken, and she kind of like half-heartedly places this hex on him in a moment of weakness, and she doesn't really think anything of it because she doesn't have like the right materials or anything. She doesn't really like think that it'll work. But then years later, he comes back to town to do like a simple check of something, and all of these terrible things start happening to him, and the two of them have to work together to break this hex and to save their town. So it sounds like it'll be very cute. Then another one that is in my top 3 most anticipated is Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. I loved Sorcery of Thorns, and I'm so excited to be getting a new Margaret Rogerson book. I hadn't really been aware of this one until kind of recently, and I'm so excited. So excited to read this one. It comes out on October 5th, and it's about a teen girl with mythic abilities who has to defend her world from the restless spirits of the dead. If it's anywhere near as well written as Sorcery of Thorns, I have no doubt that this will be a new all-time favorite for me, and it's actually the first in a series, which is interesting because Margaret has typically written standalone fantasies, so this will be like the first series starter, which definitely curious about. Next on my list is The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox, and this one also comes out on October 5th. This is definitely going to be like a cheesy Christmas movie, and I love those, so I'm excited to read it in book form. This one very much gives me like the Princess Switch vibes minus the royalty element. We're following twins, and one of them has a job as like a baker or something, and she has some kind of accident and she loses her sense of smell and taste, and then she asks her twin to switch places with her so that she doesn't lose her job because she has like a very important event coming up. And then there are I think that's 2 romances. I think each twin has a romance, but obviously things are going to be a little complicated. They're pretending to be someone else, so we'll see how that plays out. Next is another super highly anticipated book for me, and that is Well Matched by Jen DeLuca. This one comes out on October 16th, and this is the 3rd book in the Well Met series. These are all companion novels, and they all take place around a Renaissance fair, and I just love them. The first one, Well Met, is probably my favorite romance of all time. Like if I had to pick just one, that would be the one. I also really enjoyed book 2, and I've been so looking forward to book 3 because it's the romance between Mitch and April, which the seeds were like basically laid in book 1, so I've just been like waiting for this one. I'm actually going back to the Renaissance Fair this year, and I'm so excited. It's been so long since I've gone, and it's like my favorite thing in the world, and I'm just hoping that everything will still like be okay enough to go by the time that we're going, but I digress. Next on my list is A Season for Second Chances by Jenny Bayliss. This one comes out on October 19th, and I really liked the 12 Dates of Christmas. I thought it was really fun and really humorous, and it actually like made me laugh out loud a couple times, so I'm pretty excited to read Jenny's next book. This one is set in a small coastal town, which is a setting that I just love in books, so I feel like I'm going to love it just for that alone. We're following a restaurateur who moves to this town. She's like recently separated, and it's a hate to love romance between her and the snarky nephew of the person who owns the house that she moves into when she comes to this town. I feel like I'm gonna love it. Then I'm really looking forward to Kingdom of the Cursed by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the 2nd book in the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. I just finished reading the first book, and I just completely fell in love with it. It was so good. It's definitely one of my favorite books of the year, and I really need book 2 after that ending. I'm so excited for where the story is going. I can't wait to spend time in the place that they will be in. It's gonna be so good. This is an Italian-inspired fantasy, and it's full of witches and demons and really good food. Can't remember if I said that Kingdom of the Curse comes out on October 26th, but just in case, that's the release date. Then I'm looking forward to All the Feels by Olivia Dade. This one also comes out on October 26th, and this is the 2nd book in the Spoiler Alert series. So this is a companion novel. We're following another actor who I think has like kind of bad behavior, and there's a woman that's hired to keep him in line, and the two of them end up having a romance, and I think it's kind of hate to love. And I think the actor in this one has like a fan fiction habit. There's always some kind of fandom element to Olivia Dade's books. So I still have to read, spoiler alert, but I feel like I'm going to enjoy both of these. Next on my list is Duke Actually by Jenny Holiday. This one also comes out on October 26th, and this one is also another Christmas book that I'm very much looking forward to. And it is also another sequel where I have not read the first book yet, but I did just pick it up in July because I'm getting my like holiday TBR all ready to go. This series gives me like a Christmas Prince vibes, and I think that we're following the best friend of one of the main characters in the first book. And I think that they're also set in New York City for at least a portion of it before they end up involved with royalty from a fake kingdom. So I'm pretty excited to read these. And then the last book that I have on my list is All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. This is another one that I have been really highly anticipating. I really love Christine Lynn Herman's first duology, and I'm so excited for her next book. I will read anything that she is putting out. I've actually never read any of Amanda Foody's books yet, so I'm also curious to try Amanda's writing style, and maybe this will finally like inspire me to pick up some of the ones that I've been sitting on from her. This one is about a town that gets thrust into the spotlight after a salacious tell-all book is released, and it details like this ancient curse. So all of these tourists start flocking to the city to see it unfold. So it seems like there are 7 like big families in the city who are like kind of the power players, and each generation those 7 families have to choose a victor, and those victors have to fight to the death, and then whichever one wins control of like the magic supply of the city and puts them in the position to be like the most powerful family. It sounds a little bit Hunger Games-esque, kind of a little bit like Lore too, but I hope it's nothing like that because I did not like that one. But I'm confident that I will like this one. So those are all of the books that I had on my most anticipated releases list. Oh, you know what? I'm actually also looking forward to Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. That one I think comes out in September, so kind of soon. Forgot to include that one, but I'm definitely curious about it. I haven't always been like the biggest Jay Kristoff fan. I did like Nevernight, but then I never read the next 2 books and kind of decided that I wasn't going to. I'm not a big sci-fi reader, so I haven't read any of that, but I do love me some vampires, so I have high hopes for this one. But those are all the books on my list. Let me know if there's anything that you're looking forward to that I left out, because I would not be surprised if there are a couple of things that just like escaped me. But that's all that I have for this video, and I will see you guys soon in a new one. Bye!